Hello and welcome to our newest class, which is going to be called the Fourth House of Israel. We're finally going to get to the Fourth House of Israel. I know it's been a long time coming. We've been telling everyone since the beginning of time, it feels like. The Fourth House of Israel class was going to be produced, but the Texas tour happened. So here we go. The idea of the Fourth House of Israel is going to be that the words are only going to make sense in Hebrew, right? To make it make sense in English, I'm going to have to really use just kind of layman everyday language. So the buzzword is grafted. The Fourth House of Israel is really not going to be the most technical part of this class. I think we want to focus on what does it mean to be grafted into Israel? I know that's a question everybody's been asking. What does it mean finally to be grafted into Israel? And to contrast that, to give a great perspective of how that works, is the Fourth House of Israel. By the end of this, hopefully, we will have a better view of Fourth House of Israel, Cohen Levi, Israel, the Ger, but focusing on this grafted idea and really relying on the Christian concept of grafted, and we're going to blow that out of the water by showing what is the Torah idea of grafting, where the concept of grafting comes from in Torah, which ultimately means where did the Christian concept of grafted come from. Again, just to provide the context. Because the main idea is going to be Israel, Fourth House, Ger, grafted. That's what it always has been, always what it should be. With that said, we're going to go through X amount of bullet points over here to really go through the process of learning of the grafted concept. And it's a very heavy linguistic concept. It's maybe entirely linguistic. Could be. I've given an audio of that linguistic grafted concept. For those following that want the Torah sources of the idea, please see the video on YouTube. It's there. It's yeshivish. It's jargon. It's all those things. So here today, I just want to cover a bullet point kind of seminar, quick seminar. What is grafted, right? Wish I could just put this like that. There we go. All right, the first place we're going to go to, where you probably encountered on your own, if you're at this point in the process of Ger Noahide, out of the church, right? We all know the church concept of grafted. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of what it is in the New Testament, whatever it was. That's not my business. It's not where I want to go. But in the Jewish sense, whether or not you found the source of it, maybe you haven't, we're going to bring that today to light and really educate that point and bring it into gear. It's going to be rooted in the Parsha Lech Lecha. Right? Abraham's going to get a blessing from God himself. You know, Abraham, leave your friends, leave your family, leave your cousin, leave your neighbor. Whatever the verse is saying, you're going to be blessed, and all the families of the world will bless themselves by you. We find almost a word for word, same iteration by Jacob. God tells Jacob after the whole song and dance, Jacob finds out he's Jacob, and again, Jacob, we're going to da-da-da-da-da, you're going to be blessed. All the families of the earth will bless themselves by you. There's a commentator by the name of the Rashbam. He's a pshat guy. Pshat meaning the simple meaning. He's giving you the meat potatoes. Some people give you a story. Some people give you a logical background. There's the Kabbalistic background. The function of the Rashbam, you might not see him too often in the English books. And this is, again, kind of one of the shortcomings of ArtScroll, is because, as I've been promoting a little bit, one of the problems with ArtScroll is that you're going to get your standard Rashi, Rambam translation, ArtScroll style. Ger is always convert, no Kabbalistic insights. And with that, it's not even true. Ger is not always convert. There are Kabbalistic insights in commentators such as the Ramban, and there are other commentators such as the Rashbam, Kli Yakar, or Chaim, Even Ezra. There's a whole bunch of them. And it's a tragedy, really, to leave those out. And the irony is nobody does leave those out. It's a very small sect of the universe, call it Rabbi Arthur Scroll universe, bit mocking and joking, but I mean, seriously, we have to get to the point. Why are we not learning Torah at this point? There are those that question, what is ger? How is ger? Why is ger? Is it Noahide? You're asking that question from Art Scroll, Rambam Rashi, translated in a vulgar way. If that's all you've seen, then yeah, you're right. Ger is always convert. But there's a plethora of other books out there, medieval, ancient, modern. There's a whole universe of literature and usage of Hebrew, and there's a universe. And ger is as standard as we are understanding ger as everything else, as who are the characters of the Torah. What does the word et mean? I mean, there's 70 faces of the Torah, and these commentators in Sfarim, they give the 70 faces. What does the word et mean? Does it mean the? Does it mean to? Is it a direct object? Breshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. You'll see et is a word that appears 20 billion times in the Torah, to the point where Rabbi Akiva made a whole wisdom understanding what is et Aleph Taf, which is usually translated as the or to or for. So let's not be brought down to a draconian view of the Hebrew universe. Anything with a gimel and a reish and his gairu, his sheniz gairu, ger, v'gercha, all these derivatives of ger. It's not 20 billion ways to say convert. It's 20 billion ways to say ger. And one of them is convert, Boker Tov. Yes, it is. Thank God. But there's a huge Torah universe out there. And again, with the Rashbam's thing, it's an acronym, Rashbam. He wants to say, what does the word mean? And he's great, but you're not going to get that from the Art Scroll universe. And then you're going to ask, can we get that in English? I really wish you could. Maybe one day you can. If enough Gerim present themselves to the world, then yeah, a lot of Jews are going to be employed to translate books into, and we're not talking about the illicit literature for the nations, if there is such a thing. We're talking about the Chumash, the 5 books, that which is a universal message. Why can't there be a Rashbam translated for the nations? And I say that rhetorically, because that is 100% the most negligible authorities or personalities today would agree there's no harm or foul in the Rashbam going to the nations, as per the commentary of the 5 books of Moses. I mean, that's like saying, can we watch Sesame Street in kindergarten? I mean, it is that obvious. The only question is, why hasn't Art Scroll done that? They feel there's not a need. They would say Rashi, Rambam, those kind of things are all that matters. Well, it's not all that matters. That's what they think is all that matters. But that's, if you go into Taco Bell, they will tell you a bean burrito is all that matters out of Mexico. Anyone who's been to Mexico knows there's a lot more than a bean and beef burrito. Where's the pico de gallo? Anyone that lives in Texas knows about pico de gallo. I mean, how is it possible that there's Mexican food in America that doesn't have pico de gallo? It's a bit strange, is it not? I'm sure Chinese food it's the same thing. I know I ate Israeli food when I was in America. Half the items were left off the menu from the restaurants I went to. Now, am I complaining? No, but there's an obvious slant when we choose to narrow things down. You're English. I probably don't know half of the things you know about England. Why have you not told me all the things that you know about England? Didn't come up. But if I think that I know England after talking to you for the last 10 years, then I'm sorely mistaken. So with that said, Parshas Lech Lecha. And I'm not going to get into the actual places right now. I want to speak right now to you about this idea of grafted and the blends either way, and the language and concepts that it goes. So again, if you want the sources, please see the video on YouTube for that. Lech Lecha. There's a word that Hashem blesses Abraham. And he says, V'niv, again, I didn't have the nekudot here, the vowels, right? So let's just spell it. Vav nun, bet, reish, chaf, vav. I wish I had the Hebrew, but the vowels, v'niv, look it up. How do you say that? V'nivrachu. There it is. I forgot to write the vowels. When you read it without the vowels, you see it. V'nivrachu. There it is. That's why it's always key to have the vowels. V'nivrachu. And everyone's going to translate that as blessed, right? Hashem blessed Abraham. Rashbam's going to come on. This is why I didn't remember the Hebrews. We're going to get out of that language of blessed. It's not. We're going to say it doesn't mean blessed. Not in every of the 70 faces of the Torah. Now here's where I'm going to tell you the Nekudot. Marchiv. You know the word marchiv? Or mavrich. Great words. Now that we know the vowels. So the reason is there's two lashonis, we'll say in the yeshivish. Two ways of pronunciation to get in v'nivrachu. Marchiv and mavrich. And you see, it kind of sounds like blessed. And if you read the Rashbam, you'll say, okay, sounds kind of like it. He spelled it backwards for a reason. Because the word marchiv, mem, resh, kaf, yud, beis, it looks like they just scrambled the letters from blessing, bracha. It should say mavrich, but we already have that in the second one. So why does he spell it marchiv? And you can say, well, sometimes you can just switch around the letters, and it's the same thing. Just switch it around. You know, it's like you just switch the letters. You know, that's called New Testament. That's called to be nice and civil for the camera, right? Not to be vile about it. It's grotesque Kabbalah. It's vile, crass, vulgar Kabbalah. It's like people say, well, you know, the gematria, this thing is, the numerical value is 45. And hey, 45 is like 4 off from 49. Just call it 49. You know, the 4 worlds, Atzilus, Bria, Yasira, and Asir, or the 4 types of Yud-K, Vav-K, it just kind of goes, you know, just kind of goes. That's called crass, vulgar Kabbalah. You don't just kind of mix up the letters and it just kind of goes. I remember when I was first about Tshuva, I thought Rambam, Mary, and Ramban, Nancy, same guy. They must have just kind of mixed up the letters. Doesn't, you know, there can't be really 2 guys, one named Rambam, one called Ramban, and they both have apostrophes at the end. All of a sudden, you've forgotten your mentality, my brother. Did you ever hear an acronym? Does that look like a name, Rambam and Ramban? It's an acronym. You see the tick, the 2 apostrophes at the end, all of a sudden you don't know what an acronym is? Of course you do. You didn't go over the top. You didn't say, hey, you know what? Oh, there must be 2 Bible commentators. One's called Rambam, one's called Ramban, and they are different. Maybe they're even arguing. Maybe they're the same point of view, different point of view. What's going on over there? Let's go look up the Ramban. Let's go up the Rambam. You didn't think that. You thought, well, you know, it's kind of the same letters and the same guy, and you forgot everything. So when you see these things, the letters are shifting, don't go into moron man mode. Don't go into New Testament mode. Remember, the name Yeshu is an acronym. How crazy is that? It's an acronym. It's not even a real name. Which begs the question, what does it stand for? And that's a whole separate study that I choose to not get into. It's not my interest. But don't ignore it. Don't see the acronym symbolism and say, it's not really an acronym. It is. That's like me saying my name is Big Tough Guy and say, but hey, that's my name. No, that's a nickname. So here we have Marchiv Mavrich. And when you get into the Rashbam commentary, he's saying, and we're going to show how he says that, this is language of grafting. So he's saying Abraham is receiving a blessing from God, and God is telling him the families will be blessed. We're not negating the blessing, but as in Hebrews 70 faces, some words do have 2 meanings. It's called a contronym in English grammar. It's a grammatical fact. Ger can mean convert, ger can mean stranger, ger can mean alien, ger can mean a lot of things. Does that mean it's a machlekes? It's an argument of God on God? God is arguing with himself. No, words have many meanings, which begs the question, are the perforce mandates. We must master Bible Talmudic interpretation. That really is the end game. It was the beginning game. It is all game. Until now, everything is about, can we get interpretation correctly? That's the different types of people in the universe. Man and woman, what's their problem? Why are they not talking, getting along? They are not masters of interpretation. And this is what we have to work on. Torah is a big exercise in that. And so the Rashbam is saying, yeah, okay, the literal means blessing. Granted, that's fine. If I say, hey, Amnon, how are you? Well, you know what I mean, right? We're not going to say, I mean, hey, get lost. Why are you here? Why are you bothering me? No one's going to assume that. But maybe I mean something else in the word how. How am I using the word how? Maybe I was saying, how are you sitting like that there? How is that possible? Hey, Amnon, how are you? Right? It just kind of comes out like, hey, how are you? But yeah, maybe I wasn't even aware that I had that question in my mind. It just came out as, hey, how are you? And you're saying, what? You think I'm sitting funny? And I say, come to think of it, you are. Right? So we are ourselves are unbeknownst the depth of our questions and multiple views of the universe. And the Rashbam is pointing that out. Now, to end this little charade, marchiv, mavrich, he's saying that means grafted. Again, we are not negating the blessing part. We have the translation of Onkelos, who was a ger, stating what that means. It means blessed, have a nice day. Rashbam says, not so fast. We also know it means grafted. Thus, the families of the earth we grafted into you when it all works out well. Shift into the next gear. Here we go. Kilayim, the Mishnah, 7:1. I said I wasn't going to bring sources. I'm a bit of a liar, I guess. In that regard, I can't help it. They got to come in. But I do want to leave the sources out just for the sake of the flow. So I did bring that one in, but I'm going to try to leave the sources out. Again, the video's on YouTube. The oral Torah, call it several tractates, call it several mishnayos, any aspect of the oral Torah. And there's many aspects. The midrash, the oral law, the actual oral law, the commentators. Okay, the oral law in the aspect of Torah Eretz Yisrael. That's a big question. What is Torah Eretz Yisrael? What is the Torah, the land of Israel? Some people will say it's going back to the times of the Mishnah. Some people will say it's the Yerushalmi Talmud, which is not the Babylonian Talmud. What is the difference? And these are all a lot of philosophical questions. But as for the idea of this class, the Yerushalmi Talmud, again, this is not the big word, okay? It's a word. The Yerushalmi, in light of this discussion, and everything I'm saying in this class is in light of this discussion. Remember, ger can mean convert, ger can mean ger, stranger, alien, right? We know that, and that's the point. We're showing the breadth and vast nature of the Hebrew language and Torah tradition. But we have a focus this class, what is grafted. We are not going in the ins and outs of what is the Yerushalmi, what is the Talmud, versus, that's a different scope. The point is, as I relate to the Yerushalmi in this discussion of grafted, Abraham, and the blessing, the Yerushalmi deals with the land of Israel itself, planting, mixing fibers. And one of the concepts in basic farming, which works its way into the mitzvah and the laws of planting in Israel, is the idea of grafting. There are two ways to graft. I'm not an expert on this, but we can bend the top down into the ground and a new shoot pops out, or an actual grafting, right? Shove it into a hole, whatever you got to do to seal that thing off, and a new shoot comes out. Grafting. Look it up on the dictionary. You'll see very similar, hopefully better than I'm explaining. I'm a bit vulgar right now. But you'll get the gist of what grafting is. We all know what grafting is. And there's a ger who is not a nachri, who's going to be grafted into Israel. Now, I just threw you a new Hebrew word. I'm well aware of that. What is nachri? Nun, chaf, reish, yud. What is nachri? This is a project that we've been working on. You can call it your idolater, or your goy, or all the things that is not ger. Right? A secular Jew who was absolved of the Torah. He was relinquished his whatever. He is a nachri. This is why in the laws of Passover, he cannot actually eat the Passover offering. He's like a nachri. And the definition we found, and consistent in the entire Tanakh, nachri means not Israel. You didn't know that, did you? Not Israel. So if you're Jewish and you're acting not Israel, nachri. If you're not Jewish and you're not ger, nachri. If you believe grafting into Israel is the nachri, that's called Christianity. If you understand ger being the fourth house of Israel in light of this, that is not nachri. Now, we've explained the grafting, fourth house, right? The nachri is going to try to steal that tradition and say, right? We are against Israel. We're not Israel. And this is a great idea about grafting. We are the new Israel, and we are all these things. It's a perversion. And we know it comes from the language of blessed. It's related to that. It also comes from the language of ni, berech. If you look by the Pharaoh blessing Joseph, and I don't mean to use that word blessing because it doesn't use the word blessed there. Right? He was saying, you're a great guy, you understand everything, and I want you to run my kingdom. And they said, Avrech, Avrech, Avrech. Now, you can say they blessed him, but the Rashi's commentary actually is very interesting. It means all knees will bow to Joseph's wisdom. Now you can understand where the Christians get that from their acronym. So it's a great seizure of light by the Sitra Achra on these rich concepts. The point is, Abraham is blessed, and we're going to make drushes. Why do you say drushes? Extrapolation from the words. Does it mean blessed? Or can we say it has like a knee approach or grafting? So we have the two types of grafting, or this concept of the knee. And you can see the grafting kind of looks like a knee, right? You bend it down, it looks like a knee. Then you bring into the commentators Rashi and Tosfos. Some people say that they're a Rashi Tosfos guy. And that's always a famous thing. And they get all yeshivish about it. Rashi and Tosfos. They have a discussion in the Talmud about the concept of grafting. Is it you stick it in there and it's grafted? Or is it the loop-de-loop, bend it down, and it's grafted? Rashi and Tosfos argue. Tosfos wants to take it literal. Grafting is grafting. Don't make the knee thing. It might be vice versa. I forget which one's argument was which. But again, we already spoke about that. And there's a translation in the Aramaic for using the word for grafting. It's the language of carrying sheep on your shoulder. Now, again, you see why other religions have stolen this idea. That's the image they're painting. All knees will bend, and the grafting in, and the lamb on the... I mean, come on, it's obvious. It's right there for stealing. And what's interesting is in the grafting, the original plant is called zaken, the elder, and the new shoot is called the bechor, the firstborn. So you see, the miracle is the Torah of the land of Israel, and the Rishomi lends itself to Torah. Right? They say that the Pope is called Avi Avos. We know the forefathers are called Avos. The Pope is Avi Avos. You say, are you serious? You're calling me like Abraham? Really? No. In the impurities of Torah, right? There's something called an Av of Tumah. Like the first category of impurity that requires, even like the red heifer. But then there's something called Tumas Mace, the most serious level of impurity over a dead body. So that's called Aviavos. So they're saying that the Pope is on that level of impurity. It's a joke. But you see, the joke uses the language that's given in the Torah. I mean, this is kind of Ger Code 101. This is why in the Torah, when the word looks like it's lending to a great concept, it usually is. Right? So when you see the idea of the Bechor, the firstborn cattle, and you say, that's boring. But if you get into the Kabbalah of the Torah on that level, you see the Bechor concept, as we know it, the firstborn, and Esav and Jacob, it does fit when you get into the Panemius, the inner dimension of the Torah. So here too, the laws of farming, getting dirty with the soil, and we call it Zaken, the elder, and the Bechor, the firstborn. But when you get down to it and break it down, it really does get Kabbalistic and light-based, such that it provides the pure vessels of understanding that we can elevate back up, in the words of Kabbalah, the Mayan Nukvin, elevating the concepts into the emanations that come down, Shefa to the universe, which is bounty, meaning service of God, even works out in farming. We work on the concepts through meditation relating to God, and we discuss them. It merges into the inner dimensions of the hidden wisdoms of the world. So that's why everything can be holy. That's mentioned in the Torah. And when we get into that, you'll see that the farming itself lends to the grafting concept, which the Rashbam sees. That can vary by tradition, but that the grafting can be in the language of the blessing to Abraham based on the linguistics, the concepts, the Torah tradition. That the Torah tradition goes into farming because farming has the concept in farming, but if we look higher in the Mazel universe, or the spiritual dynamics of it, the grafting can exist up high, what's called the Jerusalem above, as the Vilna Gaon states, or in the higher Israel, which King David calls it Shem Yisrael, the name of Israel. And Shem Yisrael is obviously Cohen, Levi, Israel, and we're saying not the Nachri. The Nachri is not Israel by definition. So what do we do with the rest of the world? We have a prophecy that the rest of the world will bless themselves by you. It's only two choices, Nachri or not Nachri. And by definition, it cannot be the Nachri. So then who is it? They're not Jews. One thing left, Ger. Where do they fit? Is Ger a Jew? Did he convert? No. Is he a Cohen? No. Levi? No. Ger, fourth house of Israel. Then you see in the halachas of who can marry who, can a Cohen marry a convert, can a Levi, and then that's where the Ger really comes in. The Ger is the fourth house of Israel, is a strictly halachic category. Right? They can marry a mamzer, they can marry an Israelite in certain conditions, like the Yafa Toar mitzvah. So it's practical, like farming. But it works out that just like farming is absolutely awesome when you look at it, the Ger is absolutely awesome when you look at it. Because he has a soul, like we always knew he did. He's part of Israel. He comes in, it explains, King David's plight and what he was trying to accomplish with his malchus, his kingdom. I mean, the Ger and Abraham in the history, Ger is a major player in the Torah. It's in every parsha. Right? So it doesn't change anything. It doesn't mean the Ger is now higher than and it doesn't mean the Jews now, since the Ger is lower now, it doesn't work that way. Who's higher, the shoot that's grafted in or the original shoot? It's just concepts. Don't lose sight of the concepts. Ger is the fourth house of Israel, is a concept, because the Nachri doesn't fit in, i.e. that which is saying that he is identified as not Israel. It's very practical. It's ultra practical. How does the non-Jew become this Ger? The Talmud will tell you 7 laws of Noah. He's got to renounce idolatry. The Shabbat is a strengthening of his anti-idolatry, which the Rambam will tell you is a way to do something Jewish a little bit so you don't oscillate back to Nachri. You can say he eats nevela, the non-kosher meat, to receive from the Jew and have a relationship. It's the one who loves God. It's the one who's into his soul. It's the one who loves life. It's the one who wants to stop being a Nachri. Right? That's what Abraham represents. He is the beginning of Israel. Shem, and before with Noah, that was the beginning of Torah, the formation of Torah. Abraham is the forefathers, the beginning of the house of Israel. Cohen, Levi, Israel. He is the first of the Ger Tzedek, meaning Gerim will forever latch on to Abraham. Abraham's the guy. For that reason. Because all families and nations on earth will bless themselves by Abraham, i.e. grafted in according to the Rashbam. And again, now we can understand how the New Testament, Christianity, other religions want to pervert that idea. Right? It's very simple to pervert it now. Basically what you do is you make really vulgar Kabbalah out of it. Just take, they don't even know what Mavrich and Marchiv means. They just heard grafted, and all of a sudden you just say, hey, we're going to be grafted in. Based on what? Oh, well, look over there, look over there, and look over there. There's no continuity. That's why it's bad Hebrew. I wouldn't even call it, it's not Torah. That's idea. Wisdom that comes outside of Israel is not called Torah. It's called not holy Hebrew. It's called not holy dots, not holy connections. Anyone can make not holy connections. The gematria David is 14, and 14 is almost 20, because I said so. It's almost 20. Just add 6, add a vav. Add a vav. It's David with a vav. That's 20. That's what the acronym Yeshu is, right? It says Yod Shin, acronym vav. And the Greeks actually hold that's what it means. The 6 characters. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just, the whole idea is stupid. What do you need 6 characters for? You're putting a bullseye on a tree and drawing the bullseye around it. It's junk. Besides the fact that David is spelled already with a vav, and the Yud is the additional letter that comes in the Tanakh. Why are you not adding 10? Because it's spelled in the Tanakh with 10. That's called already something. So when you're making it up and you're drawing your conclusions, and if you're making it not holy, it's not Lashon HaKodesh, it's not holy wisdom. But the grafting card, that is holy. You can see the tight flow. You see it? It goes like Rishalmi. It's the Rashbam. It's the Chumash. It's Abraham's blessing. It's the words themselves, the land of the Torah, the land of Israel. It fits airtight. And the different permutations with the letters, not because we just mess with the letters. Different connotations, different kinds of grafting. So it's a tight universe. And hopefully that is making clear why learning is so paramount, why Bible and Talmudic interpretation is the ikar. It's the main thing. Because what is the power that makes the grafting possible is the learning that makes it possible. That's what ger represents. How is a ger different from the Noahide? He's into the learning of Torah for on that level. Okay, he's not out making yeshivas on Bava Kama and then the Chetzi Nezek Knas and Rosh Hashanah and the Shor. Okay, he's not Jewish. If you want to be Jewish, he'd convert and he'd filter fish. That's not a problem. But to understand ger, I get ger, to get in the Chumash, to understand what is the ger, how he relates to his soul. This has nothing to do with what he can and can't learn. It's the identification. A non-Nachri is someone who is learning Torah and he is part of Israel. And he's going to do what God wants him to do. That means that it's ger and not Nachri. And that's the difference between ger and Noahide. The Noahide says, I do my 7 just because they told me. It's Nachri. You're saying, by Noahide, I am not Israel. And that's fine. You're allowed to be Nachri. Even the prophet Isaiah says, in the end of the days, the Nachri, even he will become attached in the end. The Messiah will bring them all back. That's true. But there's no mandate to remain Nachri. Right? Okay, the Ger Toshav in the state of Israel is a different Ger Toshav. The idolatrous Ger Toshav, the future Ger Toshav. Ger Toshav is a Talmudic term. The idea is there is something called a non-Jew and a non-Nachri. And that is an eternal level. Anyone can be a non-Nachri, non-Jew. That is the blessing of being grafted into Abraham, and it's called ger. What you want to call yourself afterward, ger, tzedek, toshav, I do this and that. There's a whole Talmudic tradition to describe what you are, if you want to go there. But we need not go there, at least not for the sake of this. If you want to know, am I ger, fourth house of Israel? Then just 2 questions, or 3 questions. Have you rejected the false teaching, i.e. you're supporting learning? Are you a non-Nachri and a non-Jew? If you are, welcome to the fourth house of Israel, the ger, the non-Nachri, the non-Noahide. Those that want to remain Nachri, Noahide, Christian, Avodah Zarah, whatever it is, Gesundheit, Mashiach will come, God will bring the salvation to planet Earth, and then we'll get things going in the third temple at that time. But we need not stay in an idolatrous world because Mashiach has not come. And there are those that will remain Nachri and remain Jews. They'll convert. Okay, some will, some won't. But again, Abraham's blessing is eternal. There are those that want to be grafted in. And again, how do you do that? We're going to end with this. Through learning and understanding the learning, we can reject the false teachings, the vulgar Kabbalistic and word usage and all these things. Reject Nachriism, reject Noahism, reject Judaism. Why? Because they don't want to convert. And there's another world for there, the world of the ger, the fourth house of Israel. If you do not want to reject Judaism, and then that's called being a convert. If you don't want to reject Nachriism, maybe that's called Christianity or whatever it is. If you want to be out of the Avodah Zarah proper but remain Noahidism, that's also good. But understand what it entails. It entails that there is still a ger. He still is in Israel under these terms. And to understand the terms properly, it comes through learning and the rejection of false teachings, the false teachings of grafted in, through the rejection of that, and the taking up of the true teachings as the Rashbam brings, true grafted in, through true Torah as the blessings of Abraham.